Have you ever felt like the world was against you? Like no matter how hard you tried, the walls just kept closing in? I want to share a story with you today about someone who knows that feeling all too well. A young man named Leo, who went from sleeping on park benches to walking the halls of one of the most prestigious universities in the world. This is the story of how a single scholarship didn't just change his life, it redefined what was possible. Leo's story begins in a small town, the kind of place where everyone knows everyone. His childhood was, for the most part, happy. He lived with his mom and dad in a modest home, filled with laughter and the smell of his mom's baking. Leo was a bright kid, always curious, with a book in his hand. His teachers saw his potential early on, praising his sharp mind and his unquenchable thirst for knowledge. He dreamed of becoming a scientist, of unraveling the mysteries of the universe. For a while, it seemed like that dream was well within his reach. But life has a way of throwing curveballs when you least expect them. When Leo was 14, his father, the family's sole breadwinner, lost his job at the local factory. It was a devastating blow. They tried to make it work, they really did. His dad looked for work everywhere, and his mom took on odd jobs, cleaning houses and working late shifts at a diner. But the bills piled up faster than the paychecks came in. The stress was immense, and the once happy home became a place of hushed, worried conversations. The breaking point came a year later. The foreclosure notice on their door was a stark final symbol of their struggle. They had lost their home. For a while, they stayed with relatives, moving from couch to couch, but you can only impose on people for so long. Eventually, the family fractured under the strain. His parents decided to separate, each going their own way to try and rebuild. And Leo, at just 16, found himself utterly alone. He was officially homeless. His world had shrunk to a single backpack containing a change of clothes, a toothbrush, and his most prized possessions. A few worn-out textbooks. Nights were the hardest. He'd find shelter in 24-hour laundromats, bus stations, or, on warmer nights, a secluded park bench. The city that was once his playground became a maze of survival. Hunger was a constant companion, a dull ache in his stomach. The loneliness was even worse, a cold, heavy blanket that suffocated his spirit. It would have been so easy to give up, so easy to let the anger and despair consume him. And believe me, there were days when he came very close. He saw others his age laughing with friends, worrying about dates and exams, living a life that felt like it belonged to a different planet. It was a bitter pill to swallow. He felt invisible, like a ghost haunting the edges of a world he was no longer a part of. But then, he remembered the dream of stars, of atoms, of discovery. It was a tiny flicker of light in an overwhelming darkness, but it was enough. He knew his only way out was through education, so he made a decision. He would not become a statistic. He would not let his circumstances define his future. His new classroom became the public library. It was warm, it was safe, and most importantly, it was free. Every single day, from the moment it opened to the moment it closed, Leo was there. He did his homework, studied for tests, and read every book he could get his hands on. He devoured subjects far beyond his school's curriculum: quantum physics, philosophy, ancient history. The librarian started to notice him, this quiet, determined boy who was always the first to arrive and the last to leave. They'd save him a corner table and sometimes leave a sandwich or a cup of coffee for him, small acts of kindness that meant the world. He was still enrolled in his public high school, but attending was a challenge. He'd use the locker rooms to wash up, trying his best to look presentable, to hide the fact that he hadn't slept in a real bed for months. He was exhausted, constantly running on fumes. But in class, he was electric. He participated. He asked insightful questions. He aced his exams. His teachers were amazed. They saw the brilliance, but they had no idea about the battle he was fighting every single day just to be there. One person did see a bit more: his guidance counselor, a kind woman named Mrs. Gable. She noticed the fatigue in his eyes, the way he always wore the same worn-out jacket, even as the weather warmed up. She called him into her office one afternoon, not for a disciplinary reason, but just to talk. Gently, she asked him how things were going at home. For the first time in a long time, Leo let the walls down. He told her everything: the job loss, the foreclosure, the nights on the street, the gnawing hunger. Mrs. Gable listened, her expression a mixture of shock and profound empathy. She didn't offer pity. She offered a plan. She told him, "Leo, your mind is a gift. We cannot let it go to waste." From that day on, she became his champion. She connected him with a local shelter that provided him with a safe place to sleep and regular meals. It was a simple room with a cot, but to Leo it felt like a palace. For the first time in years, he could sleep without fear. He could focus completely on his studies. With Mrs. Gable's help, he started applying to colleges. And not just any colleges. She encouraged him to aim high. "You belong with the best," she told him. Together, they worked on his applications. His grades were stellar, his test scores were near perfect, but it was his application essay that truly set him apart. He wrote his story. He didn't write it for sympathy. He wrote it with honesty, with resilience, and with an unshakable belief in the power of hope. He wrote about studying physics under the dim light of a street lamp and finding solace in the logical, ordered world of mathematics when his own world was in chaos. Then came the waiting, the agonizing period where his entire future hung in the balance. The rejection letters started to arrive first. They stung, but he and Mrs. Gable had prepared for them. But then, one crisp spring afternoon, a thick envelope arrived. It was different from the others. On the top left corner was a crimson crest he recognized instantly. Harvard University. His hands trembled as he opened it. The first word he saw was, "Congratulations." He read the letter over and over, the words blurring through his tears. He had been accepted. But that wasn't all. Tucked inside was another letter. It was an offer for the Crimson Grant, a full-ride scholarship. It would cover everything: tuition, room, board, books, even a stipend for personal expenses. It wasn't just an acceptance, it was a lifeline. It was a declaration that his struggle had not been in vain. It was the world telling him, "We see you. You matter." He ran all the way to Mrs. Gable's office, waving the letter in the air. The joy in that room was immeasurable. They had done it. His dream, once a distant star, was now his reality. The transition to Harvard was like stepping into another dimension. He was surrounded by some of the brightest minds of his generation. For the first time, he wasn't the smartest kid in the room, and he loved it. He was challenged, he was inspired, and he thrived. He majored in astrophysics, finally able to dedicate all his energy to the subject he loved. He joined study groups, made friends, and for the first time since he was a child, he felt a true sense of belonging. He never hid his past. In fact, he shared his story, not for praise, but to inspire others who might be facing their own struggles. Today, Leo is a graduate of Harvard University. He's now pursuing his PhD, doing groundbreaking research on dark matter. He also volunteers, mentoring at-risk youth. He tells them his story not as a fairy tale, but as proof that your current circumstances do not have to be your final destination. Leo's story is a powerful reminder that resilience is one of the most incredible human strengths. It's about the profound impact that one person, like Mrs. Gable, or one opportunity like that scholarship, can have on a life. It teaches us that talent is everywhere, but opportunity is not, and it's our collective responsibility to help bridge that gap. So, if you're out there right now, feeling lost or invisible, if you feel like the walls are closing in, remember, Leo, hold on to that flicker of a dream. Seek out your Mrs. Gable. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Your story is still being written, and the next chapter might just be the one that changes everything. Thanks for watching. If this story moved you, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more content that inspires. We'll see you in the next one.